up? 3 times. It's the Yungavelle here, back at it with another video. Hope you guys have been doing great. This is gonna be a different kind of NoFap video. We're gonna go in, and I know you guys are gonna get a lot from this. So, with that being said, let's dive right in. So, I was checking my Facebook memories earlier today, and I came across this sentence that I wrote, and goes like this: through the hologram of consciousness, a little change in our lives is mirrored everywhere in our world. And I started thinking, like, yeah, I'm gonna keep this is that energy. We're going in, so we getting downloads. This is a download. So I started thinking, like, right, through the hologram of consciousness, a little change in our lives is mirrored everywhere in our world. And this is what we experience when we undergo NoFap or semen retention. We start to see that the change of the little change of attacking our sexual discipline, that discipline, that self-control starts to be mirrored throughout our lives, and we start to see that we get, we level up essentially. We respond to things differently, and as a result, things turn out differently. So we start to see that little change mirrored in our lives, but the poignant point about that is the reason we start to see that change mirrored in our lives is because of one of the basic premises of how consciousness works and how reality works, which are basically one and the same. Hologram, hologram, hologram. Holographic. There's a great book that I started reading years ago, but I got like maybe 65 to 75% through that book. It was so good, so beastly. It's called The Holographic Universe. And it talks about how the universe basically behaves like a hologram. And if you don't know what a hologram is, let's say you have an image, and if you cut that image up into however many pieces, you take one of those images, you look at that image, you're going to see an image of the whole. So it's basically the whole is present within every one of the images. Within every one of the images. And that is something that we hear all the time in the spiritual community. You have most likely come across this saying, or this talk of how everything is one, and how the one or the whole is present within the part. So the reason that they say that is because that's how a hologram behaves. The whole is present within the part, and you can see that if you really look at reality. If you look at how, for example, everything spins. Spin is an inherent quality of reality. And you can find spin at every level of reality. No matter how small you look, no matter how big you look, you're going to find that spin or torque is everywhere. Because of, I don't want to go into it, the Planck scale. The Planck scale is an oscillation, it's a rotation, so everything is mirroring the Planck scale. The Planck scale is basically the space in between a proton. Yeah, we're going deep. In between a proton, you have the nucleus, and all within it is the Plancks. A whole bunch of little oscillations that are going like that fill up the proton. So it takes 10 to the 60th Plancks to fill up the inner space of the proton. It's so beastly because if you do the energy output of that 10 to the 60th mass, kind of, I forget the actual calculation, but if you do the math, you start to see that the energetic output or the energetic mass of the Plancks on the Planck scale within a proton is the same output wise as if you were to take all the mass of the universe, like all the physical things in the universe, the planets and all that, it equals the same number. And when you do the calculation in physics, it's like 10 to the however many numbers. It's the same calculation within the smallest unit of measurement, which is the Planck, which is just like that saying, as above, so below. So keep in mind, we're sticking to NoFap because that little change of incorporating self-discipline, incorporating self-control becomes mirrored throughout your life. And I watched this amazing video that really put me on to Buddha Zen, his name is. He talked about the video was the spiritual significance of 100 days of NoFap. And he went in on a lot of things. It was brilliant. And it opened up a lot of new pathways of understanding for me in regards to why we feel that we start to begin to create reality at an easier level the longer we retain. And it's like, he said one of the things that stood out is like, one of the lowest, he's like, the dumbest thing you could do with your semen is ejaculate it. And dumb not in terms of a value judgment, but in terms of like, it's very easy to, you release your semen and then you create a baby. So he's like, the dumbest thing you could do is like release your semen and then you have a baby. Like that's how powerful your creative energy is. So if you retain for a certain amount of time, he went in on the spermatogenesis cycle, and he went in about how around like 70 to 100 days, basically that energy starts to get, your body starts to get pressurized, and that energy starts to move upward naturally on its own. And as it moves upward, it opens up your chakras. So you basically are like, instead of the basal function of sperm in terms of creating a baby, you start to utilize it in terms of creating reality. And I was like, wow, this is probably why all of us that have been on the NoFap path, we all report like, man, our attraction is crazy, my posture gets great, my space is great, I feel like I'm more lucky, things just start going my way. It might be because we're utilizing sperm or semen in its higher function. Because like he was saying, and like we know, the reality that we live in is a reality based in duality. Things have dualistic natures, including our sexual energy. So if we're able to use it in its higher nature in a more constructive way, not to say that having kids is bad or anything like that, but there's other functions that we can use. And we come across this on the spiritual path as well, when they say the yogis, they take the vow of brahmacharya, which is celibacy, and they flow the semen upward up the spine. I made a video on this sometime last year about the great sages and semen retention, and I went through a lot of different scriptures where in that passage they mentioned the power of retention and what it does for you spiritually in terms of the cultivation of your spiritual energy. So I want to share with you guys something that's along the lines of this reality. Things in this reality are interconnected, because remember, we're talking about consciousness, the change in consciousness being mirrored in reality. So that means inherently those things are intertwined, intercreated. You need to understand that this reality is based in intelligent design. Like this is not a fluke. And if you learn certain things, reality begins to play with you. If you behave in certain modes, reality will respond to you in those, based on those modes. If you bust a load in a woman, reality will respond most likely by you'll get that woman pregnant. If you retain that energy and you start to move that energy upward, reality will start to play with you in terms of what you're asking for, what your intentions are, the space that you're holding. If you hold an abundant space and you're retaining, and you have daily affirmations of I am wealthy or whatever the case may be, I'm pretty sure that you're going to manifest. Like those things are going to come to fruition. And it makes me, not to go off on a tangent, but really quick, when I was watching that video from Buddha Zen, I started thinking like, this might be why in Think and Grow Rich, Napoleon Hill had a chapter in sexual transmutation. I didn't read that chapter personally, but I hear everybody speak about it. And it makes me think that the reason that that chapter was placed in that book is because it was along the lines of, if you're trying to generate wealth, retain. For the simple reason that that energy will help you to create that reality that you're asking for. And man, I feel like this is definitely helping with the download. Stuff is flowing right now. So yeah, let me, not to get off on a tangent, but that Napoleon Hill thing, that is something to note. That sexual transmutation is a chapter within Think and Grow Rich. So, back on track to what I wanted to share with you guys. So I want to share with you a secret, yeah, I'll just say a secret for lack of a better word, that I learned when I was studying the Hindu scriptures about how things within the material reality are so interconnected. Like, I also did a video on vortex math, which is the math of the aura, sometime earlier this year, that you can go back and it's brilliant. You'll see how intelligently designed this universe really is. It's amazing. So I want to speak to you guys in terms of, let's talk about the 5 elements and the 5 senses. Notice I said 5 elements because, you know, the 5th element is a thing. You know, we know. I'm sure you've heard of that as well. We'll call it ether, right? And what difference, one of the main differences of the elements is their subtlety. And we're talking about subtlety in terms of their density, their vibration. You know, the more you go down, the slower you go down in subtlety, the denser the element. So we're going to start from ether, which is the most subtle of the physical material elements, because there are other qualities, there are other aspects of reality that are more subtle than ether. You know, I'm talking about the mind, the ego, but we're not going to go there. So in material reality, as per the Hindu literature, Sanskrit literature, the ether, and the sense that is tied to ether is sound. So if you're in an ethereal space or you're in that realm, sound is still able to be perceived, right? So you go down, you step down in vibration. Ether steps down in vibration and becomes air. Within air, air also has sound, so it has the previous quality of the lesser subtle element. So it has sound and it has touch. Air, so now we have 2 senses. Now we go into fire. Air steps down in vibration and becomes fire. Fire has sound, touch, and form. So now we have 3 senses. Fire steps down in vibration and becomes water. Water has sound, touch, form, and taste. So now we have 4 elements. Notice how each one is, the denser the element, the more inclusive of the physical senses it has. The last one, the most dense element that we know, is earth. Earth has all 4 of these, has sound, touch, form, taste, and smell. So you can see how reality is so perfectly constructed. Everything is literally intertwined on some level with everything. It's literally constructed wonderfully. So when I saw that the sentence of, through the hologram of consciousness, a little change in our lives is mirrored everywhere, it makes sense. It makes sense because holograms also behave like this, like fractals. Fractals are like if you Google a fractal is like a patterns, like certain patterns within a hologram. So the great and interesting thing about fractals is that if fractals, let's say, are, for example, there's this thing called the Mandelbrot set. And I know I'm dropping so much stuff on you guys, but this is all relevant stuff. The Mandelbrot set was something, it was like a computer generated program where it was like the same pattern was looked down. It was like a computer going down like this into this pattern, and it kept going down. So the perspective was like you're constantly going down, but you would always come back to the same original image, always. And then it was interesting though, because once there was a little change instituted within one specific part of the fractal, it could be anywhere in the fractal, but if there was an alteration within the fractal, that alteration slowly began to become mirrored throughout the entirety of the image over time as we kept going down. And it eventually will just come back to the original image. But that small change was mirrored at some point throughout the entirety of the whole. It's so brilliant, and you guys really take advantage of this reality. Take advantage of the fact that we're spiritual beings in a physical body, and rise up from our lower natures. Not that our lower natures are bad, but it's like we can do, be, or have anything that we want. You can have fun here. You can create. We're here to create. If you're in a physical body, if you're a man, and women as well, but we have semen. So use the function, and this is easier said than done, of course, because the urges are no joke, and we live in a society that perpetuates S3X, you know. So use your energy wisely and create the reality that you want to experience, because you deserve it, and you can do it. You can do it. That's the best part about it, and you will be supported. So that's all I really wanted to share with you guys. I know I dropped a lot, but you know, sometimes it be like that. I wanted to talk about fractals and holograms, the holographic nature of reality for a minute, but I was thinking about how to tie it to NoFap, and I was given the sign today. So like I always say, if you got something from this video, be sure to share, like, comment, and subscribe. Cop that Awakened Alpha merch. The link is in the description. If you stayed through this whole video and you got yourself some crystals and you're on this time, you definitely want one of those shirts. So take a look, cop some of those shirts, and you already know. Until next time, like I always say, remember, a greater perspective can lead to a greater connection. Peace.